Hi, welcome back to another Translator Insider. I hope you had a wonderful week and you're ready to talk translation. And this week I talk about something else that is very important in our industry, and especially when you are starting a business, which is knowing your value. One of the worst things, or should I rephrase this, most complicated things or hardest things is to get your pricing right when you start. So today, let's talk about pricing. Let's talk about knowing your value, and let's talk about valuing what you do. So come with me. Let's talk about pricing. So let's talk about pricing, value, all these things that come to mind, especially when you are starting your career. I believe these questions happen or rise in any sort of job, but when you work for yourself, they are a little bit more predominant because you need to set up your own pricing. You need to know exactly what is fair, and sometimes if you are studying, it's quite difficult to know that. And I don't think this happens only in the translation industry. However, we know that it does happen in the translation industry. When we started, or when we start, we always tend to devalue ourselves massively. This is already happening within the industry, which is no good. And then we come and we help this horrible trend by devaluing ourselves a little bit more, and that doesn't help anyone, doesn't help the industry, doesn't help the translator, doesn't help anyone. So today I decided to talk about this. As you know, I'm a mentor. I've been participating in the OZIT mentoring program, which I'm very proud of, and I am also a mentor through my school, Updated Words Learning, and you can get access to my mentoring program through there and get all these bits and pieces, all this news, all this training and guidance that I can provide you with my courses. But of course, I have this channel, and here I like to talk about these topics because I like to make this a bit more mainstream, and I like that everyone has access to the information, and it's a little bit easier for people to answer those questions when they start. I know I had a lot of questions when I started, and sometimes it was hard, really hard to get answers. So let's start. First, you have to know your skills. You really have to understand that experience does not equate skill. You already have the skills. You have done your course, so you have done your training, you have got your accreditation or certification with your local body, either association or whatever it might apply in your country. You already have that, so you have the skills covered. You already have the skill. So that means that you can do the job. And you must, first of all, you must think that in any profession, you always start from scratch, from zero. You have no experience because you're starting. We all have to start at some point. So does that mean we don't have a value? Does that mean we don't have skills? Absolutely not. We have our skills, we had our training, we done courses, we done, some went to uni, others did it other ways, and this obviously for the case of translation. For other industries, there's so many pathways that you can follow for whatever job you want to do. So you already have that training, you already have that skill, and that's something that you should know and value yourself for. You have no experience, you're starting, but you have the skill. So either specialized or not, you have skills. You do have them. And you must be paid for the service you provide. You must be paid for the skills and for the value you provide to your customer. So think about that. Being at the start does not equal that you are unqualified. It means that you have less experience than someone that has been in the business for 10 or 20 years or whatever that might be. But that does not mean that you are unqualified or less capable of doing the job. Let me put this in a simplistic way, I know, but let me put this in perspective. For example, you might be competing with someone that is in the industry for a long time, yes, may have that experience, but for example, may not be the type of professional, and I'm not implying, by the way, that it happens a lot in the translation industry. That's not my experience, but it might happen even in other industries, and it might happen indeed. And imagine that you are competing with someone that has been in the industry, let's say, for 20 years, but has all that experience, has been working with the industry, has been practically working, however, really does not do any PD, does not belong to an association, is just someone that does the job, has a few clients, gets money, and that's it. Maybe you have more skills than that person, because let me tell you, PD, for example, is one of the most important things or aspects of being a good translator. You always need to be updated. You always need to know if there's new rules, if there's new technologies, if there is other things. For example, if in your country, if the industry is more or less regulated, and for example, like in Australia, government and even private companies always prefer NATI certified translators, and then there's rules. For example, DFAT, which is the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, they always update NATI and OSIT about any changes they may do in their regulations, so the translators that work with them are aware of those, and clients don't incur in any excessive charging or going about their applications in the wrong way. And this is very important, and it is very important that the translator is affiliated with NATI or OSIT. In this, obviously, I'm giving you the example of Australia, but also that this translator is affiliated and does that PD. That's why NATI requires for you to have your recertification, so for you to keep your license every 3 years, you really need to show them that you have done this PD. Why? Because it keeps your quality, because it keeps you updated on everything that happens in the industry. It may actually provide you new skills. It may actually provide you networking events and others that will help you do your job better. And that is skill, and that is being capable of doing your job better. So I believe this happens in any other profession. There's always training, there's courses, there's all sorts of things in other jobs that workers need to do, that professionals need to do and go through in order to keep updated and in order to keep up with what is required of them in that particular job. And translation is no different. So think about it. Sometimes experience, it's not everything. You might have a lot of experience, but you also need to keep that skill current. Because if you took let's imagine, if you took a uni degree 20 years ago and you're sitting on that degree, you don't do PD, you don't get yourself involved in things and knowing new things, basically your skill is almost obsolete because it's old. It has 20 years. You haven't done anything to update it, that skill, to know, because in 20 years a lot of things change, and we know, and we live in a time that changes are really happening in a speed that it's incredible. We had machine translation, for example. In the case of our industry, we had machine translation, and everyone said it was the doom and gloom. I did a video about that. And now we have AI. So if we don't get updated, if we don't get up with all these new changes, of course, we may have the skill that we acquired 20 years ago, but that will not be enough in 20 years' time. So think about that. Sometimes experience is not everything. Yes, it obviously counts. And if you're going to apply for a job, maybe a more skilled, I would say a more experienced person may get that job or not. It all depends on what you have on offer, but it does not mean that you are not skilled, and you should value yourself for that. Know the value of your skills. Know the value that you add to your client. Think about it. If that client have a website that needs to be translated because they want to expand to another market, you are going to be the facilitator of that connection, and you are going to be the person that is responsible to get that website fluent and culturally fit for that country, which is another thing that sometimes does not happen, especially when you have several variants of a language. Sometimes that does not happen. Sometimes a company hires a translator that does translate in that language, but may be translating in a different variant, and you end up with a website that is translated in a different variant in the wrong country, and that signals a really lack of homework, a really big lack of leadership on that company's behalf. I always say this, it is important. Localization is one of the most important things in translation. If you want to expand to a market, you really need to know the culture of that market. You really need to know who you want to get, and then cater your website for that. It's always about your ideal client. So make that profile of the ideal client, and that works for your clients as well. They need to set their own ideal client and then tell you, well, this is my ideal client. This is what I want to do. I want my website translated. And then you are the person that is going to facilitate that connection. You are going to facilitate that expansion for that particular company. So think about it. This is massive value, because if that website is translated adequately and is properly done, that company may get, I don't know, many clients, and that will be a massive increase on their income. So it will be a massive increase in value for that company. Think about it. And you were the person that was in the center of all of that, because you were the facilitator of that skill, of that connection, as I said. Don't undervalue yourself just because you are starting your career. That's wrong. You should never do that. You should think that you have the skills. So think about what, as I said, think about what you bring to the table. Think about what you add to the client, how you're going to help that client. Either a big company or even a private client that is trying to apply for a visa and is asking you for a certified translation of their documents. If they are done properly, they will be accepted by that foreign government, and that person will be able to achieve their goals. And again, you are in the center of that, establishing that connection, helping that communication, and helping that client achieving that goal. Think about it. Stay away from platforms like Upwork and things like that. These platforms, they may be very popular, but believe me, the people that are there looking for people to work, they are not there to pay you for your value. They are there to get the job done as cheaply as possible. They usually are people that are really not worried about quality, and of course, if they are not worried about quality, they will not be worried about your skills. So stay away from something like that. Another thing that I think is very important, and I've said that many times, you have a pros.com profile. I think as translators, we all do. It's where we all start, but make sure you update your profile with your updated pricing. This is very important, and I'm going to tell you something. When you update your profile, if everyone updates their profile every year with all the updates they do to their pricing, the algorithm on PROS will be calculating the rates for that particular language pair based on those values that were declared by the translators that are enrolled or are part of that community. If you open your account and you put a pricing that you are happy to charge when you open that account, but then you forget about it and 20 years time you still have that pricing, you're not only putting yourself down, because all the emails and all the proposals that you're going to get will probably be based on that pricing that you have on your profile, and the clients will say, oh, this person does it very cheap. And you know there is a lot of bottom feeders in PROS and all these communities, because we know they all look for younger translators, because they actually prey on this perception that translators have that because they're starting, they should devalue themselves. So that's another thing that may happen. And then obviously you're going to get all these bottom feeders towards you, and it's not going to be positive for you. In the other hand, because you have such a low number, such a low figure there, the algorithm, the PROS algorithm, it's going to pick it up every year, and when it recalculates the average, that particular number, and it's not going to be just yours, it's a lot of translators that forget about this and do this. These low numbers will obviously bring down the average charged in that particular language pair. So think about this. Always have your profiles updated. You don't need to have a profile on every single social media or every single translators community, because then it would become overwhelming to update them all. Choose your battles, as I used to say. Choose which platforms you will find your ideal client. Again, it's all about setting up your ideal client, and then go to that platform and cater your content for them. Just write about whatever they want to hear. Again, don't write about translation, because they don't want to hear about it. And in platforms where you have to or you may set your pricing, please update it every single time you make changes on your pricing. Make sure everything is updated. So everywhere, which again will also bring another problem, which is, for example, a website that is very important, and it's another thing that I always tell my mentees that is very important to have. Your website, which must be updated every single year, every single time you change pricing, every single change you do. And if your website has one particular pricing, but then your pros.com has another pricing, you may have a client contacting you, but I check your pros and you have this pricing and your website has that. So, it creates all sorts of issues. So make sure wherever you have your presence online, and if it asks you for your pricing, make sure it is updated, and the first point of contact, the first place to be updated should be your website, and then all the other places where the pricing should be on. Value yourself for what you do. Think about what you do for the client, the value you had for the client, and that will determine what you are going to charge to that client. I think that is the main thing. Don't devalue yourself. just because you are at the start of your career. Of course, the more years you work, the more confident you get, and your prices will reflect that. However, just because you are starting, your prices shouldn't go down because of that. Just think about it. Be fair, have a good analysis of what you bring to the table once again, and then do your pricing accordingly. I think that is the main thing. I think it's very important that you bear this in mind. So for today, I hope you really enjoy this Insider today. It's a little long, I know, but I really had to give you an insight about this pricing issue and about the valuation, because we already have a lot of devaluation happening in our industry, especially with bottom feeders and agencies, and the whole language thing. It's quite amazing how language ended up being to blame for this massive devaluation. And that is when agencies call us translators vendors, when we are not vendors. We are not here to sell products. We are service providers. Our job title is translators. We are not vendors at all. And then it just flows over. The project managers end up being vendor managers, which obviously they must not feel very happy about it, I don't think. And then it all becomes like a McDonald's sort of thing, that we are all vendors, we are all selling things. No, we're not. We are valued service providers. So this is definitely something that is wrong. And if we bite into this discourse, and if we really let ourselves go with this, obviously it will be a lose-lose situation for everyone. So we need to empower ourselves and not let ourselves go with this, because if we cave into this and we are the ones devaluing ourselves even more, then we will eat a lot of brick walls throughout our career, and that's not what we want. So value yourself, know your value, know what you do, value your skill, because believe me, you do have them. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to see any subject discussed here in any of these insiders, please let me know. I'll be very happy to accommodate all your queries, and ask any questions you want. I'll be very happy to answer them. And if you want, if you are in the process of becoming a translator and you are absolutely lost, you're not alone. A lot of us too. I was when I started. And if you don't really know where to start, you really enjoy the profession, you would like to do it, but you don't know where to start, I've got the answers. My school, Updated Words Learning at Teachable, and I've got 3 wonderful courses that you can purchase individually. There is the Choose the Correct Skills in Translation, which tells you about all the career paths that you can follow in order to become a translator, how to harvest, for example, existing skills in order to, for example, choose your specialization in translation and things like that. It also helps you with setting your ideal client, setting a routine for yourself, a code of ethics, being a member of an association, which I believe it's very important. Then you have another course that is the business course for translators, because a lot of translators think that, oh, well, we are just freelancers. We just put ourselves on pros.com and that's it. The clients start coming in. We don't need a website. We don't need a business plan. We are not a company. Yeah, well, we are not a company. I agree. I'm not a company. I don't have a company. I don't run a company, but I do run my business. And I do run my business as if it was a company, because it is very important that you do. And doing your business model, doing your marketing plan, your business plan, having everything organized for you, it is very important. And if you do that at the start, and if you keep on analyzing and seeing all the aspects of your business, chances are you will be able to manage it properly and more successfully. And last but not least, I released this year a third course, amazing, which helps you create business tools that will help you do all the managing of your business without really big expenses. You can do it on your own. You can obviously buy. There's a lot of options in the market and good ones that I also address in my business course. However, because I have done this for me and I am really happy with what I achieved with my own tools, I decided to create a course and tell you what I've done. So if you want to do the same, you can enjoy and do it for yourself. So 3 magnificent courses. You can then combine them in bundles. I have my pro plan where you can purchase the translation, choosing the qualification, so the academic side of translation and the business course together. Then you can do the business plan, the full business plan, where you get the business plan, the business course and the new tools course with a few mentoring sessions, with 5 mentoring sessions. And then if you want to go and enroll in my full mentoring program, you can. You will have access of my 3 courses and 15 mentoring sessions. So please enroll today, go to my school, Updated Words Learning, and start today. I'll be here to guide you into your success career. And in regards to this video, put a like and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new insider every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. See you next week. Thank you. Bye.